Does everything have to be about race? Is the response that's often fired back on topics like affirmative action, teaching black history, critical race theory, something nobody but adults learn. But that's just me. It's also the title of the latest book by New York Times best-selling author Keith Boykin, which answers 25 questions about race that won't go away. So please welcome Keith Boykin. Yeah. So, good to see you. Welcome to the show. So yesterday was, at some point, we were talking about, you know, whose hush money trial. In your opinion, what would it have been like had President Obama engaged
Oh, my God.
in even a fraction? If he had just sucked his teeth at dinner.
Well, he wore a beige suit one time.
A tan
They went
suit.
bananas.
And they went berserk.
Yep.
So what do you see there? What is going on here?
I love what you said yesterday on the show about how if Obama had been president, none of this would have been conceivable because they would have driven him out of office.
Right.
And the truth is that no black person with Trump's resume or rap sheet would ever be taken seriously as a candidate for president. At first, when he ran in 2016, no one would have been taken seriously with 6 bankruptcies coming to office and 3 wives and 2 divorces and a whole history of controversy and adulterous affairs. And then when he runs again, after all the 2 impeachments, and now we have the 4 indictments and the 88 criminal charges and hundreds of millions of dollars.
Say, it's only an hour show here.
I know, right? Exactly.
What a bunch of BS. I mean, really, what a bunch of BS. Right now, black people can get away with everything. I mean, they can do whatever. And nobody bats an eye. They don't say anything. I mean, look what happened with Letitia James. Latifah James. Look what happened with her. Again, she said that the Trump administration was too male, too pale, and too stale in front of the cameras when she was campaigning.
We've got to stand up to bullies. We've got to stand up to an administration which is too male, too pale, and too stale.
Back in 2018. And again, they were fine with it. They were fine with it. You know, nobody said a word. I mean, they laughed. And that's where the issue is. Right now, people, they get away with whatever, especially if they're black. Especially if they're black. Black people have privilege big time in this country right now and in the Western world. Right now, black people can do whatever they want. And again, nobody cares. Nobody bats an eye. Nobody says a word. Because again, if they did, they're racist. They're racist, bad people. Ooh.
A lawyer and a former White House aide to President Clinton. Now, like us, you spent plenty of time covering the Trump TV and Trump on TV. And I'm an independent and have my share of Trump fatigue. I'm a bit Trumped out. But do you think this trial will move the needle for voters in kind of the middle?
Yeah, I don't know that this part of the trial will move the needle because we're doing the voir dire selection, the trial selection, jury selection part. And that's kind of boring, which is part of the reason why I guess Donald Trump was falling asleep yesterday. Although I will mention that Hillary Clinton testified for 11 hours and had no problem.
Staying awake.
Staying awake, exactly. But I think that what will happen is that once Stormy Daniels shows up and people see her and they're reminded of that affair, they're reminded of Karen McDougal, they're reminded of not just porn stars and Playboy models, but the whole history of moral infidelity.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who call themselves evangelicals really have to start to come to terms with, is this the person that we want to represent us as the leader of our country?
If they haven't yet, do you think they're really going to after this?
No.
You were there with Clinton, and how funny things changed from the way Clinton was judged to how Trump is being kind of passed on and allowed.
That's exactly right, Sarah. And I think that what Joy was saying is that if they haven't realized yet, will they ever realize? Part of the issue, I think, is that a lot of people are not movable, and those are the people who are just solid core Trump supporters.
We have got to take a lecture on moral values from the Democrat Party. I mean, really? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I mean, again, this is the party of Bill Clinton, Billy Boy Clinton, Hillary, Obama. And again, man, there are so many things that have gone on behind the scenes. You know, again, this is the party that wants to make you believe that you can take a boy and make the boy a girl. You can take a girl and make the girl a boy. And again, you can chop things off, glue things back on, inject them hormones, do whatever. And again, you're going to make them something they're not and something they can never be. I mean, again, you can't make somebody do something they're not. You can make them look like something they're not, kind of. But you can never make them what they're not. That is impossible. But they're convincing an entire generation of people. They're good people. They're compassionate. They're compassionate to trans, the LGBTQ, XWTY, whatever. Again, they're good people. They're good, moral people. They're not. They got the southern border wide open. I mean, Trump's last year in office, just over 450,000 people crossed. A 45-year low. In Biden's first year in office, after they decimated policies that were under Trump, that were active, almost 1.8 million people came across Biden's first year. And since he was elected, over 7 million people. I mean, again, but they're moral. And they want to tell you they're moral people. I mean, again, Trump is bad. And again, we got to understand they were leaving Trump alone. Until when? Until he announced that he was going to run for president. Until he came out and said that. Until the last year, they left him alone. But they want to convince you how bad Trump is, how good the Democratic Party is, how noble they are, how moral they are. Yeah. You know, let me look at race relations up until Obama. Remember that? Remember Trayvon Martin? If I had a son, he would look like Trayvon. Shut up. Shut up, Obama. Again, you didn't help things at all. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is they want you to believe they're noble, they're moral. They are not.
Are independents like you, Sarah,
Yeah.
who could be persuaded.
I'm not going that way, so don't try.
I know, right? Exactly. People who could be persuaded if they just have more information. And I think right now people are just kind of looking at where the world is right now, but they've forgotten where we were 4 years ago when we were in the middle of the COVID crisis, when we were being told to drink bleach.
By hand.
They were exactly by the president, not to wear masks, not to do social distancing, not to follow the public health guidance.
Yeah.
All by the president of the United States, who's supposed to be helping to lead us out of the crisis.
Well, hopefully.
Again, this guy's lying to you big time. Lying to you big time. I mean, Trump never said, do drink bleach, not one bit. But this guy's allowed to get on the show and say that. But again, 4 years ago, you could not speculate that they're lying to you about the origin of the virus. You couldn't speculate because they would shut you down. Shh, you can't say that. It came from a baboon having sex with a rabbit who, again, was eaten by a zebra, and the person didn't wash their hands or whatever. Again, not real. Not even close to being real, but you couldn't say it. You couldn't say, is it possible that the virus was leaked from a lab, you know, the one with the same name as, again, now they're saying, yes, it probably did. But at that time, you couldn't question it. And if you did, you were kicked off of social media. Again, we have to understand, this guy, he's allowed to get on The View and say something like Trump said to drink bleach, which he did not, and nobody bats an eye at all. Now, again, we have to recognize what's happening. It's not real. But again, these people, the good moral people, they're good moral people that lie to you. That lie to you for your own good. Because again, you don't know what's best for you. So we're going to lie to you. We're going to lie to you and you're going to like it. And you're going to vote for us again and again and again. Because again, we look like the good moral people. We dress a certain way. We talk a certain way. Again, we might be doing all these different wrong things, but in the public eye, we've only had one wife or one husband or one whatever. Wake up, guys. Wake up.
Loved it, and I've recommended it to so many people. It's called Why Does Everything Have to Be About Race? 25 Arguments That Won't Go Away. Now, you break down these common myths to help explain why race really still needs to remain part of the conversation. You quote Tomi Lahren saying, "I don't see color," to Trevor Noah. But she's certainly not the only person to have said that or who have thought that we should be a colorblind society and not talk about race, because talking about race is divisive. What do you say to those who believe we're beyond a society that needs to be seen through a racial lens?
Well, the funny thing, Sonny, is that when Tomi Lahren made that statement on The Daily Show, she said, "I don't see color." Trevor Noah responded right back and said, "Well, what do you do at a traffic light?"
Right.
Clearly, we all see color. This idea that somehow color doesn't exist. My life has never been colorblind. I was born in a segregated hospital in St. Louis, Missouri. My birth certificate identified me as Negro.
Yes.
From the moment I was born, I was labeled by my color. My parents both attended segregated schools, racially segregated schools in St. Louis. When I went to high school, I was the first Black president of my high school and the first Black editor of my college newspaper. Not because I was the first Black person to be qualified, but because Black people had been excluded for hundreds of years from those opportunities.
Right.
So I think
Again, what Tomi Lahren was saying to Trevor Noah was not that she doesn't see color, like actual difference of color. She does, but that color is not a big deal. And again, we know that. We know it's not, unless you're white. And if you're white, that's bad. Whiteness is wrong. Whiteness is bad. It doesn't matter when you were born, what you had to do with whatever happened in the past. Again, if you're white, you're racist by the very nature of you being white. So we know what they're doing. They're pushing whiteness is wrong. Whiteness is bad. And Black is good. Black is a victim. Again, even if you were not old enough to be involved in anything, you are bad if you're white. You are a victim if you're Black. And again, that's the way it is. And we know this. We know this. Right now, he was saying that if you went outside and hailed the cab or whatever in New York, any white person in the audience would be much more likely to get the cab. No, they wouldn't. No, they would not. Again, this is a Black man that, dressed very nice, whatever, went out there to hail the cab. He would get it. He would definitely get it. But again, we have to buy this notion of white supremacy, of systemic racism, whatever. Even though you get out there and you can say whatever you want negatively about white people, you can say whatever you want. But if you said the exact same thing about Black people, they would have a hand fit. Again, look what Letitia James, the district attorney of New York, said. Again, back in 2018 when she was running for DA, look at what she said. Again, she was talking about the Trump administration. She said they're too male, they're too pale, and they're too stale. Again, the first two things we're talking about, their sex and their race. Imagine if somebody said, "Oh, you're too female and you're too Black." Yeah. So again, we understand that right now you can say whatever you want about white people, especially white men, and nobody bats an eye. But again, if you say certain things about Black people and brown people, whatever, women, people lose their damn mind.
If I go into a shopping mall or department store, I'm more likely to be followed because I'm black. If I'm driving down the street, I'm more likely to be stopped by police and more likely to be arrested because I'm black. America has never been a colorblind society.
They see us.
Right.
But you know, if we're being seen, you need to be seen too. All you women out there, our issues are your issues.
Yes.
Keep in mind, we're all affected by all this stuff. This is not just one group. This is everybody. Don't forget that. Anywho.
Like he said, black people are arrested more. They're followed more. They're pulled over more. We get to feel bad for the black person. We get to feel bad for the black man. But he fails to mention that black people commit more crime per capita than any other group. As a matter of fact, black people are less than 13% of the population in the U.S., yet they commit more than half of all violent crime in the country. But again, they don't want you looking at that. They don't want you knowing that because they want you to think black people are victims. They're victims. And white supremacy is, again, the reason why everything happens the way it happens. It's not true. It's not even close to being true. Again, they don't want black people to have accountability for black people. But they want to hold the white people accountable for something that happened 200 years ago that had nothing to do with them. But they won't hold black people accountable now for what they're doing. For, again, committing high levels of crime. For going into stores. And again, you see it on camera all the time, taking whatever and walking out the door. So again, maybe the reason why you're followed around and maybe the reason why you're arrested is because you're actually committing the crimes. I don't know. Just a theory. But anyways, guys, if you would, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Thanks. You son of a.